this event has the best haunted house Universal has ever made, at least since I've been going.
Not clickbait.
Mm,
I was
yeah,
gonna
me.
rag on Josh, but after watching the POV, I don't think there's any hyperbole there.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the HHN Graveyard Show. In this episode, we are going to talk about HHN Beijing. Technically, it's not HHN Beijing. It's something Halloween at Beijing, but everyone calls it HHN Beijing, including me. But of course, it's not just me to talk about it. I am bringing back my good buddy SixBillium. Billy, how
That's
you doing?
me. Hello, I'm doing fantastic. Even though I wasn't able to attend this incredible event in person, it looked so cool from like the POVs and everything. So I'm really excited to talk about this. You guys should be excited to hear about it too. Like,
Yeah. There's unfortunately there's not a whole lot of coverage of this event in the American world. Um, I'm so glad that I got to attend, and I'm so glad to be able to share it. And I'm really hopeful that I can convince some of you, and especially Billy, but also all of you too, to join me in the future in Beijing. Super accessible for Americans. Um, about that, very briefly. Um, I want to talk a lot more about travel to Beijing in future episodes, but just as a quick little aside, visas are required to get in. There is also a transit without visa option. Look it all up. I had a tourist visa because there's a consulate up in San Francisco, and I was able just to visit easily because I live in the area. English was surprisingly better than I thought. I speak a little bit of Mandarin. I'm learning it, but it's pretty broken. But between my broken Mandarin and my English, I was able to get by no problem. There is tons of public transportation. It's really, really good. In addition, they have an Uber-like app. It's called Didi. It blows Uber out of the water. We're talking like old Uber prices with like three times as good availability. I never waited more than like 3 or 4 minutes for a Didi, even though I would take it at a theme park that was out in the middle of nowhere. Really, really easy. I want to encourage you again. Don't be intimidated by the fact that it is in China. Once you get your visa situation sorted out, or your transit without visa, super accessible, super friendly for foreigners, super friendly for Americans. You got to get out here. You got to get out here. The event was amazing. And of course, we're going to talk about all four of the haunted houses that were at this event. We're also going to talk about the couple of smaller scare zones, the show, a handful of other of smaller Halloween things. But of course, we're going to start the way we always do, which is with our little thesis statements. Billy, would you like to go first with our little thesis statements to sum up
sure,
this event?
sure, of course. And again, I'm basing these only off of Josh's POVs that he posted, which are excellent, if I do say so myself. But my thesis statement, from what I can surmise from Beijing, is that sometimes bigger is better, and sometimes silence is pretty scary. Those are what I've gathered. How about you, Josh?
Yeah, okay, I like that. Yeah, I think that my thesis statement is really that it is a shame that this event is so not talked about and slept on by a lot of Americans, because this event has the best haunted house Universal has ever made, at least since I've been going.
Not clickbait. I was
Yeah,
gonna
me.
rag on Josh saying, "Oh, he said this is the best haunt he's ever done, and my homeboy hasn't even done Nightingale's Blood Prey." But after watching the POV, I don't think there's any hyperbole there. I think
Yeah,
when we get to that, you guys are gonna lose your minds.
right. We're saving that one for last. Uh-huh.
Oh yeah, of course.
Um, cool. Okay. So the haunted houses, four haunted houses this year. So the brief history, this event started in 23, if I remember right. They had one haunted house called Freaky Farm. And then last year they had two, which were Freaky Farm and then Jack's Circus. This year they had, oh, and House 81. So they had three last year, I believe.
Yes.
And then this year they have four haunted houses. Jack's Circus, which is an IP, and yet, or no, it's not an IP, it's an original. It is Jack that you know and love, Jack
That
and
guy.
Chance, the icons, right? Um, um, and then House 81 also returns. It's an original. And then Hua Pi is, I don't exactly know how to classify it. It's based on like Chinese literature, from my understanding. So kind of original, kind of IP. Maybe it's based on a local movie, and I just have no idea. It went over my head a lot of it, but
So it's kind of like Monstros plus Universal Monsters, where some of it's pre-existing, some of it's just told, and brought to life, maybe.
Right, something like that. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and then finally, we're gonna wrap it up, or the last house, not necessarily in this order that we're gonna talk about them, is Monsters Crypt, which is the Universal monsters make their way to Beijing, which makes Singapore the only horror nights that has never had a Universal monsters. Keep that in mind. That fact may be useful one day. hmm
Ooh,
right.
cryptic. I like it.
Okay. All right. We're going to go a little bit out of order from our outline. Let's start with those Universal monsters. So the first house we're going to talk about is Monsters Crypt. This house, hmm, I can, I guess, Billy. Let's start with you. What kind of scenes really jumped out at you from my walkthrough that I filmed?
Um, so first off, I would say that I think overall, what I noticed in Beijing is that a lot of the haunts feel a lot bigger, and not
Mm.
necessarily big like El Artista big, like
Oh.
everything is supposed to be this grand, tall set. They
Mhm.
just that's just the way the aesthetic fit. You know, there's just a lot of rooms that are two-story, not because they needed to be, but just because it fit and it worked well. And I would say the opposite is kind of true of Universal monsters, at least from what I could tell. This felt like the most claustrophobic of the haunts, and maybe the most Western, most closed in a sense like that. But I liked that it kind of almost felt like a bridge between the Universal monsters we've seen stateside and the Monsters Unchained ride at Epic Universe,
Mm.
where it wasn't. There were some things that you noticed from the haunts, but it also went off the rails in some really cool ways. I wasn't a huge fan of how bright the mummy scene was in this haunt, but I
Yeah.
liked that it was different and that it wasn't just the same claustrophobic back and forth that it has been almost everywhere else. There was these two like really big rooms where you kind of had the scarab effect from the Revenge of the Mummy
Yep.
ride,
Yep.
where the scarabs were like pouring down the sides of the
Mhm.
altar that the mummy was laying on.
Mhm.
That was cool. In those pictures you just sent me, the very first one, I think it was the headless lab cart
Oh.
character. That was awesome.
It was so cool.
For our video or for our audios, there was
Mhm.
a character who was pushing a lab cart but didn't have a head. So it looked
Yeah.
like it was just like this disembodied corpse just kind of pushing around a
Right.
metal cart,
Mhm.
and that was super cool.
Yeah.
Um, let's see.
I think that that's a good segue to jump in and say that all of the haunted houses in Beijing, but um, I think especially this one maybe featured like really cool effects that I don't think that they're as prevalent in the American ones. So the character that Billy talked about, yeah, it's this lab cart, someone's pushing it, and you see that they're human legs, but then yeah, their torso and up is just gone. It's just a stump. And I walked through it a handful of times, and like I mean I don't know, they must be like hiding in the cart or something. Like I'm not
Yeah,
totally
I don't know
sure.
if there's like a mirror effect
Yeah,
underneath, so it looks like, or
the
so it's blocking them out. I couldn't really tell,
the rooms were a
but
little that was a little mirrory. So that certainly could be the case, but like it was convincing enough that like I every time I went by I was, craning my head trying to see what was going on with it. Then Billy, did you catch, I know I had it in my video. I didn't have a ton. The take that I got it well wasn't particularly great. Um did you see the high priest like lifting the mummy up?
kind of yes.
Okay. So yeah, so I think I caught it as I was walking out of the room. But there's one scene in the mummy section where the high priest is standing in front or behind the altar with the mummy is laying on the altar, and the high priest has his little wand or staff or whatever it is, and he waves it, and the mummy starts to just like levitate and float
Okay, yeah,
upwards. Uh huh. And oh, it was so cool.
yes.
Like I don't, there must have been, maybe it's super light and there's like, a fish wire, hanging from the ceiling, but like, there were a couple of those. There was also a little character that would sit on like some sort of like tank. He's like an experiment or something.
Oh
And
yeah.
he jumps at you and you can't see his legs. That's a little bit easier to tell how it is. But like
I,
the effects on all of these houses were top notch. They were really good.
I noticed the little snake puppet that jumped out too, or the cobra, whatever it was. That
That
was a
snake is my
fun one. That made me
favorite.
laugh.
Yeah, yeah. You walk along, and there's this like snake puppet that like it raises little head and it like dances around a little bit, and then it strikes at you. and like it was really cool. I was giving him little claps every time I walked by. uh-huh. Yeah, I think the scene that I liked. So I think we have to talk about the Phantom of the Opera scene. The Phantom of
Yes.
the Opera scene was maybe the highlight. Um, so you walk into, so I guess to start with, this house was very reminiscent of the 2019 Monsters house in Orlando.
Mhm.
I didn't do the 18 one in Hollywood, but it was it was an amalgamation. It was a combination of all of the haunted houses, or all the Universal monsters got a room or two. And Billy, you are correct actually that these haunted houses are actually bigger than the Universal
Yes.
ones. The blueprints leaked on. Did you remember the one Xiao Hong Shu app? The Little Red Book is the English title. The one,
Yes.
like, people were like, if TikTok gets banned, we're going over to that.
Yes.
Yeah, one of the guys that I met in Singapore is a native Chinese speaker.
Mhm.
And was telling me that, and showing me like these like leaked blueprints, and like they had like 4 or 5 or 6 more house rooms than
Yeah.
Orlando's did, and especially House 81.
I
Um,
was gonna say it felt like they all felt like singular soundstage haunts, like Terrifier
mm,
length or longer
right,
for
right,
each
you're
one.
absolutely right. Yeah, but so you're walking through all the different characters, and eventually you get to the Phantom of the Opera section. The Phantom starts with, if I'm remembering my sequencing right, it was him standing on a boat. And then it goes to him playing his organ, and he has a mirror, and he can turn back at you.
Yes.
And then finally, his finale is one of the coolest rooms at the event this year. Is you walk into it, and it's this like big, like 2 or 3 story. This is one of the tall rooms, one of the only ones in this haunt, like Billy was saying.
Mhm.
This 2 or 3 story tall room that has like seating around. It's the opera, and Christine is standing up there and singing her little heart out, and the Phantom pops out from behind you. And then the coolest part, I didn't get this in my video, unfortunately, was the chandelier actually drops a little
The
bit.
chandelier drops?
Right.
Yes.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I
That's
I
awesome.
wasn't able to turn my gimbal up enough, unfortunately, to catch it. But yeah, such a cool room. I think that was my favorite. The finale was also pretty cool, with a ton of fog, and the different, like, actual like crypts. Yeah, just really really good,
It
all
it
around.
it it's funny that you mentioned the finale
Mhm.
because I love that finale too. It looked so cool, but all I could think while watching it was like, this is your mid 2000s, early 2010s Cedar Fair Halloween ad, like plastered right there.
Yeah.
The spooky trees, the fog, the crypt, the blue, the green, the
Blues and
purple
greens.
lighting, like like
Right.
a is it looked like a good Cedar Fair ad. But I mean, that's what I grew up going to these Halloween events. That's where I started out.
Mhm.
It made me feel all nice and nostalgic.
You're not wrong. It's not like that. Uh-huh. Yeah.
I'm gonna say for when you do the editing, actually, I think I found an ad that looks similar that I'll have to remember
Oh,
when
yeah, yeah,
we're done
please send that to
recording.
me. Uh-huh, yeah. But yeah, 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 I mean, it was really good. Do you have any other thoughts about that, or we can keep moving?
No, I don't think so. Like I said, I think very similar to very similar to 2019 Monsters in idea, but
Mhm,
the execution was much more extravagant and much more out
mhm,
there. There was more effects. The blocking and everything was more exciting and more interesting than it was stateside. You see, you had a lot more of the depth and you had a lot more of the height to go with it. So whereas, Horror Unleashed felt very much the same or different, but mostly the same. This felt the same, but mostly different in a good way.
right, mhm,
The ideas were there, they were just much better.
right, right, I think that's fair. The one downside, no creature from the Black Lagoon.
I did notice
I
that.
guess he's not popular in China.
But I did see the black cat, black fox mascot, whatever it was at the beginning,
Yeah, yes,
stolen
uh-huh,
from Murdy's head, I'm sure.
right, yeah, Muerte's cat or dog or whatever, uh-huh, right, right, yep. Okay, cool. Moving onward, we're gonna go to Hua Pi. So this is what we are talking about at the beginning. Is it an IP? Is it an original? Probably treated the same way as like the Edgar Allan Poe haunt in Orlando.
Okay.
So considered an original, probably. So this is based on a short story from this collection of short stories called Strange Tales from a Chinese Studio, written in the 1700s. Essentially, from what I can see from the Wikipedia article, I didn't realize this was actually a story until it was too late. And so I didn't read it before the event, but if it comes back next year, I will have read it. So it's the English title is The Painted Skin. Basically, it's this Chinese scholar. He falls in love with this demon who's disguised as this beautiful woman. Romantic relationship. Eventually, the scholar, finds out who she actually is, and then there's kind of a battle that goes back and forth between the demon and the good guys.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you can kind of see that in the walkthrough.
Yeah. I
A
was
lot
trying
of
to
it,
piece together the
right? Yeah. A lot of it was lost for me. But I want to start with I think the coolest part that I think maybe is uh, more spoken to by some of my pictures, which I will add in addition to my walkthrough. Um, the makeup here was
yes.
absolutely stunning. Like you're like better than than most years in Orlando. Like
Hundred.
the
100%.
women were absolutely just like the makeup were crazy. I'm looking at the pictures that I sent you, Billy.
Mhm.
The woman, like the fox face. So like for audio listeners, you should check my pictures out. Check out the video if you can, but I'll describe it. It's basically this woman. Her face is basically like cut in half, and half of her face is beautifully traditional Chinese makeup kind of look, and then the other half is this like wolf, and
Mhm.
it is just like blended to perfection.
Yeah,
And like
it's real good.
it's so good. Yeah. I'm very pleased with the picture that I took too, to be honest with you. You get the picture like, man, I kind of killed that shot though.
You did. And I suppose I don't know if we mentioned this earlier, but you can record in these haunts as you can in Hollywood, correct?
Yeah, small tangent. Um I walk up to the first haunted house. There's a big sign out front. I don't remember if I took a picture of the sign or not. I think I did. There's a big sign out front that says no pictures or video recording. So, being a good boy, I don't take out my camera. I don't do anything. But I seeing all of these Chinese people pulling out their camera and their phones and stuff. And so, like, well, what gives? And like they're walking past attendants and no one cares. And so eventually I ask one of the people in front of the houses, one of the ops people, like, what's the deal? Like, can I take a video? Can I take pictures? They go, yeah, go ahead. Why do you have the sign in front if I'm allowed to take pictures?
Copy paste.
it was, and it was the same for the rides too. They had all the signs, but no one cared. Everyone took out their cell phone and recorded. So yes, but yes. In general, you are allowed to. And they had to check I carry a gimbal to keep the footage pretty stable. They had to check it a couple times, but you're allowed to bring in your gimbal and use a mic and everything. So, but yeah. The makeup was the most noteworthy part for me about the house. What did you think about it, Billy?
I thought it looked really cool. The I think my favorite part was before it might even begin, more or less, that giant like outdoor
Mm.
courtyards,
Mhm.
alleyway, whatever you
Mhm.
would call it.
Yeah.
That felt permanent. That felt more like than just a temporary Halloween facade. Like that was real cool. And the aesthetics inside, I guess the best way that or the best vibes I was kind of getting was like a combination of like Gulkin and Chupacabra with the street side scenes and
Right.
alleyways, but with that more
More
what would be
Chinese
the
flair.
word? Yeah, with
Chinese.
more that flair and design choice, but then also a little bit of Beetlejuice when it gets to like kind of the weird room designs and the weird
Mm.
aesthetics. It was this one is very pretty. I don't know if anyone did like anything like Shadowlands or something at any of the Cedar
Yeah.
Fair events. Uh
We were
it
supposed
was
to go
not
to the Great America, but that was 2020.
yeah, RIP.
Mhm.
It was not in great condition by the time I got to it at Knott's, but take that and amplify it like 100.
Mhm.
Like maybe one
Mhm.
of the most beautiful haunts I've seen.
Right. And authentic too. Obviously, this is,
Yes, of
Chinese
course.
literature in China. So, yeah. Yeah, really, really cool. I think this one had the least amount of effects that I can remember. That not to say that there weren't any. There
Right.
were, some Pepper's Ghost or some, kind of see-through screens throughout it. Um, Other than that, I mean, to spoil the endings, this house was probably my least favorite, but that doesn't really mean a whole lot because it was really good.
Right.
Mhm.
when everything's, an A or a B,
Right.
fourth place still has to fall somewhere.
Right, and I guess more than anything else, I didn't have a connection to the literature. Like, this story doesn't mean anything to me. I'm gonna read it. I'm going to, just watch a movie if it comes back next year. Watch the movie. But if it was a story that I grew up with, or was
Mhm.
my part of my culture, I'm sure I'd enjoy it a lot more. But I enjoyed it plenty as it was.
Well, I think just from watching the POVs, this was maybe my number 2.
Okay,
Um,
okay, I love
you
that.
can correct me if I'm wrong on this, Josh, but I think this one maybe best exemplifies what Beijing is as an event. I noticed, like you said, not a whole lot of an effects, but still a decent amount
Yeah,
scattered throughout.
sure.
There was a lot of characters. If you notice,
Yes,
most scenes had like
yes.
2 or 3 actors.
Uh-huh.
They would even be like shoulder to shoulder or have boo holes like right next to
Right.
each other.
Uh-huh.
This was one where the sets were big. They had these 2-story sets, but it didn't feel like they were big because you were supposed to be looking at everything. It was
Mhm.
just that immersive and that well done. And audio wise, this one,
Oh,
I
yeah.
watched all this with like the sound all the way up. It was quiet. There was not a
That's
lot of like, even the jump scares were very much muted. And I guess I kind of talked about this last time when we did Singapore, I believe. But it feels like these Halloween events are much less about the Blumhouse style jump scare that we're used to over here, and it's more about creating, that lasting type of horror, those lasting images, those lasting scares that aren't just like a "Ah," and then you move on to the next one.
right.
And
Right.
that's where the emphasis on better makeup and more immersive sets really comes into play because you're not just remembering a scare, you're remembering the moment.
Right. Yeah. I think, yeah, that's a very good observation that you made about the characters, because that was one of the things that I noticed too, was that there were just so many of them. It was unreal.
Mhm.
We'll talk about it in particular for House 81. But House
Yes.
81, they hired someone to lay on the floor and tickle your ankles with feathers. Like, I'm not even kidding.
That's
Like,
incredible.
it's so who that would be the first one to be cut in Orlando. It would never work except, opening night before too many people called out.
If even that, if it even made it through the testing and,
Right. Right. It was, yeah, just so many people. In addition, from the my friend out in Singapore, he was telling us that escape rooms are really big in China, he says.
Mhm,
So that maybe explains why people expect so many effects, or why we get so many effects in Beijing.
mhm.
Because the Chinese populace, go to escape rooms with, effects and good theming, and they, demand that, they expect that level of theming throughout the entire event. And so, it's a hypothesis, but it's interesting. Um,
A and for the event to be this crazy good in its infancy, I didn't realize that. I thought this was another, 10, 15
mm,
years in like
nah.
Singapore was.
Mm-mm.
But no, for this to be the 3rd year,
Yeah, third
that's
year.
insane.
Yeah.
That is absolutely insane.
This event has so much room to grow, and, like, it's already really good. It doesn't live up. We'll talk a little bit more in comparison when we get to, like, our final rankings and stuff. Like, it can't match the quantity of Orlando. Orlando is,
Of
like,
course.
objectively a better event, but, like, at a per house basis, I think that Beijing goes head to head. I think it beats it, to be honest with you. And, like,
I do too.
if it if this event is able to grow to 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 houses and add in some good scare zones, like, you're
Mhm.
talking about, like, it's gonna be the best. Um, but we'll see, I mean, Singapore hasn't grown to 10, although Singapore's a much smaller park. We'll see.
I can't wait to talk about this in a few years. That's all
Yes,
I'm
yeah.
gonna leave it at that.
Yes, yes, when you come with me.
Of
Mhm,
course.
mhm. Okay, cool. Yeah, okay. Moving onward to the next show. Just as an aside, Billy mentioned that the houses were pretty quiet. I think it's probably a good time to mention. I probably should have mentioned this at the beginning. I went for 2.5 days basically. So 2 full days at Universal Beijing, both during the day and at night. And then when I flew from Singapore, where I went to to Hornets in Singapore, out to Beijing, landed 2 or 3 o'clock, made it to the hotel. I stayed at the Universal Hotel, I think it's called, which is
Mhm.
attached to the park. Super convenient, super great. A little expensive, 300-400 USD a night, but totally worth it to be able to walk back to your room even shorter than any of the on-site hotels in Orlando.
Mhm.
Um, and I went to the event from when I got into the hotel, 5 o'clock or so, until close at 10 o'clock. Um, so only 2 and change days, but I ended up being able to do basically as much as I wanted because it rained. I kid you not, it rained basically my entire 2.5 days that I was in the park. There was probably like an hour or two span once each day, where it didn't rain, where thankfully I got to see some of the scare zones. One was under a roof, we'll talk about. One was
Mhm.
not, and I was able to see it for an hour or two, but there were no lines. Literally did not wait in a single line the entire time. House 81, I might have waited for like 5 minutes. So I got tons and tons and tons and tons of runs. I probably ran these houses 10 times each.
Oh,
I
jealous.
did 4 for the videos. I took the best of 4, and then 4 for the pictures, and then I think another 2 or 3 just without anything. So, it was a good visit. Okay, moving onward. Maybe this couple of Orlando natives favorites. We're going to talk about Jack's Circus. So this is one of the returning haunted houses. It features Jack the Clown. Everybody knows him. Everybody loves him, as well as Chance. Um, this one, I should say, so Hua Pi was right next to their Despicable Me, their Minions Despicable Me area. Monsters Crypt was right next to their Mel's Drive-In. Um, House 81 was over by their Transformers area. And then Jack Circus was also in their Despicable Me area. So four venues. They looked a lot like the Carnage warehouses, if you know what that is.
Yep.
But yeah, that's where Jack Circus is. I guess Billy, what is the thing or things that stood out to you about Jack Circus?
Well, as much as I would love to say the Icon House was the best, this one probably was the least interesting to
Mhm.
me. Only one. You get some great appearances of Jack and Chance, but
Yeah,
it was only one of them. It's no Dr. Oddfellow's Twisted Origins, which I absolutely loved.
favorite.
This I know Universal Monsters I said felt Western. This one felt maybe a little bit more Western.
Mhm.
This one felt maybe a little bit more like your Six Flags style walkthrough where the scenes aren't. I don't want to say the scenes are very basic, but you've got some junk on the walls, and then you put a shelf in the middle, and you walk around that, and oh, there's something on the other side. Um, Still a very good looking haunt. Some really cool stuff, like all the actors that were on wires and stuff that could on
Yeah.
punchies that could go up and down. Like
Uh-huh.
that's really awesome.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And that really creepy clown room, I think that was towards the end that had all like the marionettes or mannequins or whatever that were all standing in the room, and one or two of them was real. Kind of like the us slash
Yeah.
weekend gimmick, but with clowns. That was good. But again, it reminded me thematically, it reminded me of the Cedar Fair carnival type haunts. You're not necessarily focusing only on the most exciting parts of a carnival. You got the washing machine room. Can't remember the last time I've been through a washing machine room in a carnival haunt, but those used to be a mainstay. But it was a fun house. It just didn't quite tick the box of it didn't quite tick the box as being as immersive or as story or as character driven as the other haunts on this lineup. And that's always also kind of the risk that you run with clown haunts is that how do you make a clown stand out without making an actual icon out of them like Jack and Chance. But I found the costuming to be good, but not really any costumes I remember beyond just being clowns. Unlike in Singapore with their Carnival of Carnage scare
Mhm.
zone or whatever it was called, I already forgot.
Right.
But how their costuming was super
Very
good,
unique.
very Western, but very not at the same time.
Mhm.
This felt very just clowns. Okay, I'm done ranting now.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, I think that this it really felt like they were doing another culture here. It didn't feel like it felt like they were kind of just playing the greatest hits, kind of playing the
Yeah.
tropes. Nothing really super stood out to me that made this one different from, yeah, a generic, Cedar Fair-esque haunt, other than, maybe the behind the scenes, quote unquote, portion where you go into like, the dressing room and the laundry room. Like I know that Oddfellow did the dressing room,
Mhm.
but like the laundry room was super cool. Some highlights for me. So I guess I should say that Jack was in the house multiple times. He was, standing above you at the when you actually get into like the ring, and then he
Mhm.
was kind of greeting you, quote unquote, as you walk out. Chance had one appearance, and I think in her she where she yeah runs at you and jumps bungees right at you. And that's actually a really good segue to tie into one of the other special Beijing things, which is the amount of active scares in these houses were
Yes.
nuts. Uh-huh. So like this one, let me see, let me scrub through this real quick. So there's a character that like really like lunges over like the bar at you. That probably doesn't count. Um there's Chance who's going to run at you with a bungee. I think that would be considered an active scare. There is a character that's attached to a harness in like the room with all like the curtain pullings and
Mhm.
stuff. He will jump up and rise up in front of you. Then there is one of the characters that is spinning. She can spin on a ring. Which is really cool. And then I guess it depends on how you consider it. I consider it a pretty active role. There's a room with a massive Jack in the Boxes, and the characters like jump out of the Jack in the Box, lunge at you, and then pop right back in and kneel down in the Jack in
Oh
the
yeah.
Box. And that looks like a really good workout, but like not fun. So,
Not for
talking
me.
about like
Not for me every night.
yeah, right. Yeah. Um, yeah, you're talking about like three or four like really, really good like active scares in this, which is awesome.
Yeah, I'm rewatching the POV again.
Yeah,
I've
I
watched
think
it
we
a few
both are.
times already, but
Same
it just
here.
it looked even though it sounds like I'm tearing this apart and not enjoying it, it still looks really cool.
Right.
And
I
it
think
still looks a lot of fun and it's lively is maybe the best word to say it.
And I think the inside of the laundry room, the little effect that they use with the woman has her little iron, and she like shoots air at you. That was also in Hua Pi too. I think I got it on video.
Ooh.
So that was a very popular trick that they had through multiple houses. But yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed this. I thought it was good. Yeah, it wasn't a whole lot more than just kind of a standard circus style haunt. But I thought that it was done pretty well. The characters were really really good. Because these houses were so empty, I really got a lot of attention. I mean
Mhm.
that, and plus like I'm a bald, very muscular, big white American. I think maybe I saw one or two other Americans in my entire time in China. Um, Russians, way more Russians than I saw Americans. I think they have visa free travel, or I think they have visa free travel, so it doesn't shock me, and it's close. But yeah, yeah, it was good house, good house. No complaints.
Yeah, there we go.
Hmm.
Now the question is, do you think our Jack versus Oddfellow haunt that's rumored for Orlando this year is going to beat it if it comes to fruition?
Uh because it if yeah, if it's true, and they do it right, I think it can, just because the attachment I have, especially to Oddfellow. But
Hmm.
I will see, right? I
We'll
hope so.
see.
Hmm. Hmm.
You'll hear it here. You'll hear it here first.
Right.
If so,
Yeah, we'll do the reviews earlier next year. That's
yeah,
exciting.
right.
Okay, all right, moving on. Unless you have something else to say about this haunt.
Nope. I think
Cool.
we've got plenty to say about this next
Oh, I
one. I
think we
think
got plenty to say.
you're very excited.
Oh, I'm really excited about this one. Okay, the last haunted house, which is returning from last year, is back again this year. I usually don't like repeats, but this house can come back forever, and I will be so thrilled.
At least
Um,
until I visit.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And then after Billy visits, then get rid of it. Let's talk about House 81. So House 81 is the other original. This is the one that's over by Transformers. I believe, I'm not sure, but I believe this is the building that was going to be used for Fast and Furious. Back when they were going to build it in the resort, and then the one in Orlando just bombed, and then they canceled it. So yeah, but regardless, I don't know. I mean,
Treasure from trash.
yeah, yeah, right. Let me. I mean, there's the scene. that everyone
The
knows.
scene.
Billy can talk about the scene, but I want to talk about the facade. I think the facade is probably like objectively like the fifth or sixth best scene in the house, but I love the facade because this is something that only really got caught on a little bit on video. I think the rest of the takes I didn't like it as much. So you walk into the soundstage. So the soundstage has like banners for this haunted house. Like it says, House 81, and there's some stuff in Chinese that I can get the gist of, but I don't remember what it is, to be honest.
Mhm, mhm,
You walk into the soundstage, and it's not quite as big or as like detailed as El Artista, but it's
mhm.
close. It's approaching it. So you walk in. There's this big like mansion. You end up going. There's a fountain in front. You end up like walking around this fountain, and there are four or five little characters that are hiding around. Oh, I guess I should say real quick. From my understanding, this is similar to Singapore in that it's based on like local legends. From my
Okay.
understanding, there's a house in Beijing that it's famous for being haunted. I don't exactly know what happened in this house, what made it haunted, but it is. So this is supposed to be that house in Beijing, like actually haunted. But you walk up to the facade, you go around the fountain. There are a handful of characters. One of them is, a couple of them are Chinese,
Mhm.
but there was one like white American guy that
The director.
you should have seen. Yeah, he was the director. Uh huh. You should have seen the smile on his face when I walked up, Billy. He had the biggest, goofiest smile on his face because
Oh,
he was so excited to speak English. I just knew that he was excited.
he looks very cheerful in the video. You
Right.
more so than your typical haunted house
Right,
lead.
right. I don't know. He just looked so thrilled to be able to talk in English to someone, and oh, how are you, my friend? Like, how would you like to be killed and put in my dumpster? And, like, I went through back to back a couple times because there was no line, and every single time he just had the goofiest grin on his face every time I walked up that it just got me smiling. It's just like how can I be afraid of you when you're just
Right.
goofy? You're just excited to see me.
Yeah, he's
Real real
having
golden
fun.
retriever energy.
Listen,
But
if I can interject real
yeah.
quick, um, I know you mentioned El Artista. For any of the HHN boomers like me, the best way that or the vibes that I get from this one is more akin to Dead End from
Mm,
2012. With a
mhm,
little bit of legendary truth, wind out of state, my
mhm.
homeboy, sprinkled in there as well. Which for those of you who are new to the event is essentially El Artista, except for instead of focusing more on the beauty, they focused more on the scares of the like a haunted house abandoned concept.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
El Artista minus nice upkeep minus Spain plus
yeah,
America.
and especially this first room right after the
Okay. Tell
facade
me about it.
with
Mhm.
the I don't know exactly what it was supposed to be, demon girl or what, but this demon flying overhead on a caveman,
Right.
going back and
Uh-huh.
forth, back and forth.
Uh-huh.
I guess technically it was kind of the same setup as nah, never mind. I'm not kind of the gargoyle from El Artista, but not
Kind of.
really.
Not quite, but
Yes.
very same idea. Mhm.
Yeah, just going back and forth overhead
Right.
at various intervals, except for
Mhm.
instead of staying out in the open, it looked like she would go through a curtain or something, so you
Yep.
couldn't tell when
Mhm.
she was gonna come out.
It
And
was
that
it was real difficult to
yes.
get her on video, so I got the best I could.
And it looks great.
Mhm.
Said this isn't one of oh, you're scared before the you're scared before the haunt even starts with this one.
Mhm.
I say in the best possible way. And then just the amount of portraits and the drop doors and the Pepper's ghosts and stuff while walking through those hallways. I love it.
Right, yeah, I mean, I guess
Classic Halloween.
yeah, yeah, I mean, I think this is both of our favorites. I think it's probably fair to say that.
Yes,
We can
100%.
we can kind of go scene by scene with this. So we talked about the facade, we talked about this
Yeah.
opening. Then exactly what Billy said. You basically go through a couple of different hallways or hallways back and forth. Drop windows, Pepper's ghosts, a little bit of everything. Until you get into this green like bedroom area. There is like a grandma looking character that's sitting right in front of you. She does lunge a little bit at you, but mostly she just kind of looks at you. And then as you look up, you have another like active character. Yeah,
The
yeah.
spider girl.
She's climbing on the walls. It was, yeah, super cool. Not a ton of characters in that room, but just the two, but they're really good. Then which scene was after that? Oh, the dining room. Yeah.
Yes.
So the dining room, you walk in, and there's, a head on the table. They're eating the head, and but the head is a person that's there, so the head is looking at you. There is a character that is in plain sight, also looking at you. And then there's a cabinet, that someone jumps out at you. This is not the most like amazing scene, but still like very good. And then is it time for the scene? Oh,
I
not
think
quite.
it's time for the scene.
Almost, not quite. Then there's the white room.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I'll let you describe the scene, but I'll go up to everything before it. Um so then you get into like some sort of, yeah, kitchen of some sort, but it's all white. And the lighting is weird, which messes with my camera, which makes it not look particularly great. But there's this woman in all white. She's staring at you. Then I didn't get this on video. At some point throughout, I was just like on a loop of some sort.
Mhm.
The strobes would start flashing. Someone would jump out of the fridge and scare you
Ooh.
too, which is really cool. Uh huh. Yep. And then a quick look through, like the more of like the kitchen. There's a pantry. There's this character that is going to throw his knife at you a little bit. Oh, tell me about what was after that, which was the hallways,
The inflatable
the
tubes,
inflatable
it looks
tubes.
like.
Uh
This
huh.
looks like what? There's set or 3 hallways that you can get guided down
Uh,
that have
two
uh
two of them, and then there
oh,
were
2 of them in
two
the one.
two non just normal hallways if you didn't want to go through that ADA hallways, if you will. Mhm.
Yeah, but they've got the inflatable sides. I'm trying
Yeah.
to tell. You could tell me, Josh, if there's anything on the inside.
Oh, there's something on the inside.
I can
Uh-huh.
see something in the white strobes, but I can't tell what it is.
Right, exactly. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, sorry, I wasn't able to get this footage. I'm obviously not gonna take my $5,000 gimbal setup through this inflatable tubes.
I think you're forgiven for that.
But yeah, essentially for non-video watchers, you walk into this room, you see four doorways. The furthest doorways on the outside are just normal, boring hallways that you walk down. Unfortunately, I do have footage of that because there's nothing. My camera's not going to get ruined going down a normal hallway. But the two interior hallways are the like the classic. I mean, you don't even see these at horror nights. You see these at like the bad Cedar Fair haunts, the Six Flags haunts that need to fill it with something and it's cheap.
Mhm.
And they're like the inflatable like, yeah, tubes that like clog up the hallway and you have to like push through them, like swim
Mhm.
through them. Uh-huh. But which is great and good and everything. But the coolest part is there's a character in between the two. So he is like pushing at you and as you're trying to walk through, he's just like not trying to knock you over and you're just like pinballing back and forth in between these two air bubbles. It
That's
was
awesome.
so, and it's clear so you can see him, and so you're like, don't do it, don't do it. And he just does it, and it was just so much fun. It was so good. Yeah. Uh-huh. Okay, now is time for the moment. So walk me through, if for the audio listeners. So let's hear it, Billy. What's going on here?
Okay, so you exit this hallway, it's still run down. You get to this bathroom, kind of looks like The Shining,
Yeah.
nice and pretty, doesn't really look too run down compared to everything else. And then there's a bathtub that's in front of you filled with water,
Real water.
sloshing a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Wonder why that water's moving. Oh,
Mm.
that's why. Somebody jumps right out from it and they're right in your face.
Right, exactly. You're in the bathroom. Yeah, you walk into the room. I caught this at the very beginning of my walkthrough. Um, and the mirror basically goes transparent. And so you can see someone standing, he's in like goggles and like, on the other side of the mirror, and you're just like, oh, he's just standing there, like, he's not going to do anything with this bathtub that's in front of me. Nope, he jumps out of
Man,
the bathtub at you. It's just unbelievable stuff that like this guy has to do this on like a 30-second loop for you know 15 minutes or however long it is.
I
But
was gonna say, so does he have like or do you think he has like a access point behind that mirror that he goes
Yeah.
down in, and or
I
yeah,
has
when
to
he's
be. Yeah. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
not just hiding underwater and
Right. Yeah, holding his nose. I would assume, right? Because it was like a good like 5 second like pause in between like seeing the character and like jumping out, which is why I kind of time skipped a little bit. Like
Mhm.
pretty rarely did I like get it because I didn't want to just like stop the line. Not that there was much of a line, but yeah, it was it was maybe the coolest scare that I've ever seen at Horror Nights. Um,
And
which
oh
which is
god.
high praise. Yeah.
I was gonna say, and not to try and outdo themselves. Immediately next to that, I see that there's a toilet there.
Uh-huh.
They have somebody jumping out of the bathtub. They couldn't have somebody jump out of a toilet, right? Nope, you're
They
wrong.
do. Right.
I wouldn't say I like that one more, but you can understand how somebody jumps out of a bathtub. We've all gone scuba
Mhm,
diving before and
mhm.
jumped out, or at least I have. But when you see, at least watching the footage of this character coming out of the toilet, she has to contort her body a lot more to
Yeah,
actually make it through.
right.
And that's almost a little more scary, or that's almost a little scarier to me. You
Right.
have one that's maybe a lasting scare, and then you got the bathtub that's just your fun, cheap jump, your your fun jump scare.
Right.
You
And
know,
and I mean and don't forget too about, right when after you get the scare in the bathtub, you turn around and there's a mirror
that's
that
right.
that goes transparent. There's someone standing there like hitting the mirror too. So and then it's the toilet. So you're talking about like such density of scares in these rooms and they're interesting scares too. They're not just someone that just, stands out there and boo, you know. Yeah, just amazing stuff. Uh-huh. Then I mean the next few scenes are good. They're nothing great. You go through a couple of the bedrooms. Nothing that really and anything that stood out about those scenes, Billy.
Not particularly. You've
Yeah.
got some good blocking with the sheets hanging over the bunk beds. Give some good hiding spots for the actors, and it's kind of got that Insidious esque
Yeah. You're not wrong.
children's drawings
Right.
here and there. So it's got a good vibe, which makes up for the fact that there's not a lot of else going on in the room. But that's okay considering all the crazy things we've already talked about, and not mentioning the fact that this is probably around where an Orlando haunt would end,
Hmm.
if
Right.
not earlier than this. And
Right.
we've still got what, a third of the haunt left, give or take.
Exactly. Yeah. This is a 7 minute walkthrough. And I didn't slow down. I walked at a pretty consistent pace that usually a haunt is done in 4 minutes or so.
Mhm.
Maybe five for long ones, maybe six for an insidious level long or terrifier level like long haunt, but this one was a 7 minute easy long haunt. So okay, so you go through the bedrooms and this is kind of what I was talking about earlier with the person. You go into a closet and my camera had a hard time getting the footage here because it was just so dark you couldn't see it in person either, so you didn't really miss a whole lot. But you're feeling around and there's clothes on either side, or you're obviously walking through like a big closet, and you feel something feathery feathering your feet. And then the first few times I went through, I was like, oh, they had just have like I don't know, like a low RPM drill that's has a feather on the end and it's just feathering. No, the one of the times I walked through, I looked down there, I saw someone's hand reach out feathering people. There's someone that gets paid to lay on the ground and feather people's legs as they come through.
Do better, Orlando. I'm right here.
It was
Quentin
so
Tarantino,
great.
one night only.
Yeah, right. He would like that, wouldn't he? Especially if there were sandals involved. Uh-huh. But yeah, moving onward. You end up with a couple of kind of like rundown, like beat up hallways, a really good active scare with a bungee.
Yes.
Very cool. And then it ends up with you go into the basement of some sort. There's like hanging like sides of meat or bodies, probably bodies to be honest, in the context of the house. There's a character there that'll jump out at you with a knife. You end up going and seeing the security room, and that's the final room of the house. You go to the security room. There's this character that's kind of just hiding in plain sight, just kind of standing there. There's like live footage of people that are actually walking through the house, and then boom, you're out of the
That's
house.
cool. I didn't
Yeah,
realize it was live footage. That's
it
awesome.
was. Yep, yep.
Because I can't remember. I would say, because normally when we just get it stateside, it's something pre-recorded from
Right.
previews,
Hmm. Hmm.
especially in Terrifier. I remember this year.
Right. Yeah, yeah, with some of the art cams, but
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, I ended up seeing myself walking through. So, yeah, I mean, okay, hit me. We're gonna try to finish in an hour. We're at about 47 or 48 minutes right now.
We got it.
Yeah, hit me with some final thoughts for this house.
It might be the best font that
It's so
HHN has ever done, and to see something this good,
nice.
like I said, in the event's infancy within 3 years,
Hmm.
that's insane. The sets. Let me backtrack. 2010 was my first year at Orlando. Legendary Truth, Wyandotte Estate,
Hmm.
super, super, super special haunt to me. Just in the way that it took your typical ghost story and tried to do so many different things with the ghosts.
Hmm.
Legendary Truth, you have the roller skate scare, you have the floorboard scare. See that in Beijing, you've got the bathtub scare.
Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
taking these. It just has such this classic haunted house feel, but with an
Exactly.
updated, unique
Yeah.
way of presenting the scares and presenting the effects and making it a super high tech experience
Hmm.
while still feeling like an old school rundown haunted house. And just everything about it, I loved it. Said very reminiscent of that one, Dead End as well, where you kind of aren't really sure if everything is just you aren't sure at the beginning if everything is a play, if this is just the director or the creator. He's kind of just got all this stuff going on
Hmm.
for the cameras, or if it's actually a real haunt. And
Right.
the more you go through the haunt, you obviously learn the answer. But I think it's kind of cool there that maybe meta concept isn't necessarily the correct term, but the story isn't as upfront as it seems right from the get go.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's fair. Yeah, I think Billy touches on the most important part. The atmosphere, just absolutely impeccable. Just like El Artista. El Artista had just gorgeous atmosphere, similar. Not the same goals, but
Mhm.
done similarly well. The crazy part is, like Billy said, this is year three. I think you honestly can tell a difference between the year three houses, which are monsters and then Hua Pi. The effects on those were even better than the ones they had here. And I'm thinking of the rising mummy and then the torso-less character in
Yeah.
monsters. Those were like levels of effects on those levels were missing in this house. And so like I'm so excited to see what they do with in the future. I agree. This is my favorite haunted house, Horror Nights house of all time. I didn't get to go into like 2011 with like Nightingales and like some of like the goats,
You
but
remembered.
I always remember. I think about it every night.
Maybe
Um,
we'll get a graveyard episode out for you guys one of these days about the old years of
yeah,
HHN.
yeah, 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 for
So
sure. But
don't know
um,
when, but
for
we'll
someone
make it
that's
happen.
been going since 19, like this is my favorite haunted house of all time. Like really, really good. So yeah, I think that's all I have about it. Any last minute stuff, or are we feeling pretty good?
I
I think
miss it already. I want
yeah.
I'm sure you guys probably are going to do this already if you've been clocked into the two podcasts this long. But go watch Josh's POVs on this stuff. Like better than a lot of they're better quality than a lot of the Orlando
Mhm.
POVs you're gonna get. And I'm not saying that just to plug, but I'm saying that as an HHN nerd who loves to obsess over details and
Mhm.
actually see things besides the main focal point scares. And Josh captures so much in his POVs, and they look super good. Like I said, this is the best way you're going to be able to experience these events.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. I put a lot of effort into my setup, and you know, I've strong arms and strong backs from carrying this heavy thing all over the place. Gimbal plus mic plus camera plus a big lens, but it's worth it for some of this stuff that I'm able to capture and share that a lot of people aren't able to join. But yeah, thank you, Billy. I appreciate the gas. Um, Okay. Yes, let's move on to scare zones. Okay, well, we talked about how great all of the haunted houses were in Beijing. The scare zones were the weak point. Like they're pretty clearly not meant to be the focal point here, and that's okay. There were two. A lot of the themes around like makeup and stuff carry on, but other than that, there were two scare zones. One was called I don't even remember what they were called, to be honest with you.
Creepy crawlies or
Yeah, something about
something.
creepy crawlies. That was if I remember right, that was over close to the entrance to Transformers. It was like the transition area between when you walked past their How to Train Your Dragon Untrainable Dragon Theater, and got to Transformers in that place. This scare zone was none of these scare zones have props. These two scare zones have props. They're just characters walking around. This one was like insects. There's like a Lovecraftian, like
Yeah.
Cthulhu guy type guy walking around.
Also kind of
Um,
gave me Slither vibes. James Gunn's Slither. Anyone else remember that deep cut?
Oof,
Just me.
lost on me. Yeah, I'll take your word for it. Um, but the makeup was good. The makeup was really good. Yeah, you have any thoughts about this one? There's not a whole lot to talk about with these scare zones. To
Yeah,
be honest.
like you said, no notable props, just some really good costumes.
Mhm.
Not just the same beats that we saw stateside and Bugs Eaten Alive. There's some really cool like bug I don't want to say puppets, but bugs attached to the costumes themselves. Like there's
Mhm.
this one lady that had a really cool spider attached to her. One of the spider creature makeups had the domed eyes that looked really cool as well.
Mhm.
Um, so I like that it wasn't just bugs. There was more than that. But
Right.
yes, you kind of said it all. You got some really cool costume characters uh wandering around and they look really good and that's about it.
Yeah, yeah. My only regret from this scare zone in particular, but also the other scare zone, is that I didn't have enough time and there was too much rain to really get a lot of good footage. I think I really focused on photos here, so I'll be playing some photos as we talk. But yeah, very cool. The other scare zone was at the front. So like most of the Asian Universal parks, you open up with a big covered area. And this one was, I mean, it was Tron. There's no other way to put it. Um, there were a bunch of characters walking around with like little carrying little neon discs. Some of
Basically, any post-apocalyptic New York scare zone you've ever seen, but with Tron aesthetics.
right, yeah, yeah, and some of them had like almost like a cheerleader look to them. Like this is one little girl with kind of like a shorts, cheerleader skirts and stuff. Yeah, they had a guy that had, I don't know if he had like Hamikuma claws. I don't know if it was supposed to be Hamikuma claws, but it was just kind of like bear claws. I didn't really get the theme here. I think some of the pictures that I took turned out pretty cool with the lighting, but other than that, it was lost on me.
They don't do the Vamp series at Beijing. They do
Mm.
Cyberpunk.
Yeah, looked cool at night, but yeah. Cool. Okay, moving onward. There was a Hamikuma show. Um, it was out in the open though, and there was definitely no chance that I was going to see it just because of how much it was raining. So those suits would have been 100 pounds full of water if
Ugh,
they had done the show, and they probably would have slip sliding all over the place. So, but
that's
you
the
did
real
did you
horror.
see a video, Billy?
I did watch one briefly,
Okay.
but
Mhm.
there was nothing notable.
They sang the
Nothing
dance.
personally for me that
Mhm.
was too notable. You have your dance troupe with your costume character in the middle, high energy music. The stage itself was kind of cool because it was kind of like a carnival graveyard style, water world style, like uh post apocalyptic stadium with Hamikuma lights and stuff on the back and like neon signs almost. So
Mhm.
it looked pretty, but beyond that, would it have drawn me in? Probably not.
Right, right. And it's worth noting here that whereas Japan, we'll talk about in a little bit, added a couple of characters, Hamikuma Soul and Hamikuma Punk. Um, Beijing went a different direction and did Emo 2 and then like Foxy something or other. So they're part of the Hamikuma verse, but the Hamikuma verses seem to be diverging. So we'll see which direction Orlando goes. My money's on Japan. So
Yeah.
Hamikuma Soul and Hamikuma Punk, but we'll see.
I don't know, but Beijing does have Jack the Clown.
That's a fair point. That is a fair point. None of the icons, to my knowledge, have been in Japan.
Well,
So
actually, that I don't actually know.
okay, I'm
I'm
pretty sure they
like
haven't. I thought you were
I'm
going to
like
correct me.
I was gonna say, should I do a trivia plug here for a video I haven't made yet? But I'm 1% sure that oh wait, never mind. I'm thinking of Port Aventura. Never mind. It's like I know the director
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
was somewhere else, That's what it was. It was Port
Right.
Aventura way back in the day.
Right, right. Yeah, to the best of my knowledge, the icons have never been in Japan, but that's okay. There was a little Hamikuma meet and greet under the coverings. So most likely, what they did was they took the characters that were going to be singing and dancing and put them under the canopy to do a little meet
Mhm.
and greets. They were very popular. Had all sorts of people around them. Okay, that's going to wrap up the attractions, special attractions. It is worth noting that all throughout the rest of the resort, they did have like special Halloween decorations. They had lots of Halloween food. I picked up some. They had these really cool Jack the Clown bags at the event, and they you couldn't just buy them. You had to go through the Universal Beijing app and do basically you had to buy like a bundle where you went to the restaurant, you went to the Mel's Drive-In there, the Mel's Die-In there,
Yes.
and you picked up not only the bag, but you also got like a little Hamikuma sipper. You also got a handful of different desserts too. And I shipped one out to Billy. So Billy has his Jack the Clown Beijing bag somewhere.
It makes me very happy. I actually it's my work bag.
Oh, really? Okay, that's cool.
Yes, I bring my laptop in,
Oh,
but not all
very
the
nice.
time because I don't wanna I want this bag to last a very
Yeah,
long
yeah.
time, but,
Mhm.
I make sure that whenever I bring it in, I can first mention how you were so kind to bring it to me and rub it in my everyone's faces, but I just love being able, "Oh, yeah, this is my HHN Beijing bag," like, it's so cool. Got Jack the Clown. Oh, I love that thing,
Yeah, it is a
and
cool
it's
bag,
got, like, a
isn't
little
it?
cinch on top
Yeah, yeah,
too. Like, it's
yeah.
a nice bag.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's interesting. But yeah, yeah. So the food wasn't too wild, but some interesting stuff. So yeah, I think let me kind of wrap it up. We're right about at an hour, so we're gonna end right about at an hour, which is great.
Woo!
Um,
There's a first for everything.
we're not gonna be under. Let's not get crazy, but about an hour, which is good. Okay, so some final thoughts from me. I think we've talked about it. I think this house has the best Horror Nights house that I've ever done, or this event has the best Horror Nights house I've ever done. The event is still very small. There still are only 4 haunted houses, but the event has shown that they will continue to grow, and the level of quality that they have in these 4 haunted houses are unmatched by any other Halloween Horror Nights event on like a per house basis. There are no stinkers here. There is no filler. It is nothing but go go go. Um, House 81 is going to be the highlight, of course, but every single haunted house in this lineup had something that made my jaw drop. If it was the
Mhm.
makeup and Hua Pi, like the active scares from Jack's Circus, the effects of monsters, or just the overall like length, scares, atmosphere, everything of House 81. Every single house had something that made my jaw drop. And I've never been able to say that about anything. Will the quality continue to scale if you go above 4? We're going to find out. We're going to see. I hope so. But we're going to see. Scare zones need a little bit of work. That's okay. I don't know if they will. Singapore, they're very popular. I think they're the best in the world in Singapore, but they're not very popular. Or they're not very themed or anything in Japan. We'll talk about that next. But overall, so much fun. An incredible event. I had just the best time in the world here. I would encourage all of you to please don't be afraid of China. I mean, as an American, I mean, I can recognize that their citizens are fed propaganda. I'm fed propaganda. Everyone's fed propaganda, right? It's knowing when you are and being able to look past it. And I recommend that you look past it and be able to enjoy this event because the people are welcoming. It's easy to get around. It's easy to figure out. If you can get your visa, go, please. You won't regret it. I promise.
Yeah, I think that pretty much sums up about what my thoughts would have been as
Mhm,
well. This event looks incredible. Singapore looked really good, and I
mhm, mhm.
certainly would want to visit it, but I don't know uh if I would solely do an international trip just to do Singapore's
Mhm.
HHN. Would I to do Beijing's HHN or Scarefest or whatever it's called?
Here's the universe.
I might. This stuff looks really cool. I mean, you guys hear me talk about it in every episode. I love haunted houses that are kinetic, that have movement,
Mhm.
that aren't just people popping out at you.
Yeah.
And this seems tailor made for someone like me who likes intricate stuff, but not so intricate that it loses the thread. I can't speak to the park during the day or the park as a whole because I haven't visited it myself, but support this event so we can see how
Yes.
much better it gets
Mhm,
10
mhm,
years down the road.
mhm. Yeah, yeah, it's maybe it's not as intense maybe as
Mhm.
Orlando. I think that's less desired by the populace. I think you see that in Japan especially as well. But the atmosphere, the effects, yeah, the variedness of scares, just unbelievable stuff. So cool. I think let's finish off with our rankings.
Mhm.
Scare zones. Which one did you like better? I mean, they're
Creepy crawlies.
yeah, gotta be. The makeup,
N-
cool. Um,
Yep.
the Tron was it's a cool aesthetic, but I don't know. It's lost on
FanFest, not HHN.
right, sure, sure. I can get down with that. Uh-huh. Original content for FanFest. Ooh, I kind of like that idea.
Ooh,
Uh-huh.
risque.
Okay, Murdy, you listening? Uh-huh. Um, okay, let's go bottom up for the haunted houses. Okay, for me, I'm gonna start with Hua Pi at my number four. It was beautiful, makeup stunning, but just didn't have a ton of connection with the source material. What about you, Billy?
Mine would be Jack's,
Mhm.
Jack's Circus. Again, still very good haunt, very fun haunt. Definitely better than some of the clown haunts that we've gotten at HHN and various other locations throughout, however long Cedar Fair has been doing them.
Mhm.
But compared to everything else in the slate, it just doesn't compare.
Yeah, yeah, that's my number three. Number three is Jack Circus. Yeah, didn't feel like it really brought any new concepts or any new ideas to this well worn circus kind of trope. So very good, but not at the level of the top two. I think. Okay, number three for you.
Number 3 for me is Monsters Crypt.
Okay.
Very good haunt. Love the effects. I love the deviations and how it built upwards on a lot of the main moments that we saw stateside, while also maintaining the claustrophobic feel through a lot of the transition scenes.
Mhm.
And I guess real quick, one thing I kind of have been thinking but forgot to mention, there isn't a lot of transition hallways I noticed in these
Mhm.
haunts. It's really just kind of big room to big room to big room to
Sure.
big
Uh-huh.
hallway, and
Uh-huh.
even the transitions feel big, which I very very much enjoyed.
Yeah.
But yes, monsters very good changes, very scary changes, very beautiful changes, but I don't think that it can touch the atmosphere and the vibes of my top 2.
Okay, yeah. My number 2 is gonna be monsters.
Mhm.
I think that the effects did a ton for me. I don't really get scared a ton, in Orlando or in Beijing or in Japan or in Singapore or in Hollywood, blah, blah, blah. The effects were top-notch here. Yeah, some of the scenes were so cool. We didn't even talk about, like, the Dracula that would, like, lean over you and
Carnival Graveyard.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yep.
Carnival Graveyard, the monsters in Paris,
Oh, yeah,
yeah, mhm.
Unmasked,
Yeah, yeah, Unmasked there, yeah, mhm.
whatever,
Was it
can't think of
Hunchback?
the name. Yes,
I think so, yeah, yeah,
yes,
yeah, just
Hunchback.
such good effects, so much fun, so interesting, good to see the monsters, good to see them a little different from the Horror Unleashed slash 2019, 2018 Universal monsters. Even the one in Japan was kinda derivative of those ones, so good to see a separate take here. Number 2 for you.
Hua Pi is number 2 for me.
Alright.
This was the first one I watched, and also upon rewatching it is when I kind of noticed how little sound design there is in Beijing and how well it works.
Mhm,
I think of something like Grave of Flesh, where you've got such an obvious beginning, middle, and end just by the music that's playing that you can tell what's going on. And you don't get that in Beijing. Everything is just kind of quiet and ambient and unsettling, but it's not so quiet that nothing's there. But you can't really place where you are in these haunts or in these stories based off the soundtrack alone. And
mhm.
I really like that. I like going through Hoppy and not really knowing what was going on, not really having any sound cues to give anything away, and just
Right,
I liked it.
right, it was fun, mhm. Okay, number 1 is gonna be House 81, The Big Shot.
What?
After we spent
Crazy.
literally 15 minutes talking about how great it was. What is there to say that we haven't said? It's atmospheric, uh, beautiful, scary, amazing effects. Maybe arguably, definitely the most unique scare that's ever been at a Halloween Horror Nights event.
Mhm.
What else is there to say?
Yeah, pretty much. Take everything that I've ever liked about Halloween events, and it's here. You know,
Right.
the beginning years of HHN that were very impressionable on me. Even some of the first years I was started going to Scary Farm, I see some things in this haunt that
Mhm.
remind me of that. The ambience all around. The one thing I didn't mention that I loved is how, as you're walking through this manor, there's the windows that show you the outside,
Mhm.
and
Right.
it's thunderstorming, and you can see silhouettes of characters. A few
Mhm.
of them even had actors that would come
Right.
up against the glass, and one of those, just such a simple thing that really ratcheted it over the edge for me.
Right.
You know,
There's
they
this
could have
whole
just
world out there.
yeah, they could have
Uh-huh.
just put a wall there and put
Yeah.
another painting and it would have been fine. But you know, you build it out that extra
Mhm.
4 feet, add a
Yeah.
few more lights and put a person or even
Right.
just some
Right.
cutouts to
Mhm.
make the shadows. And it's it
Stunning.
we'll do a whole episode if we don't cut it here. I'm just talking about how much we loved House 81.
Yeah, I like that. Cool. Okay. So that's gonna wrap up all our review of scares at Universal Beijing 2025 or HHN Beijing. Um, awesome event. Super exciting to see where it goes. Okay, now for a little bit of housekeeping. Billy, tell me, is there anything you have released, have made, want to make?
I'm still working on the
Expect to make?
countdown.
Okay,
Trying to
it's
get
coming.
there.
When's it
There's some life circumstances that have pushed
coming?
things a little behind, which I
Mhm.
will make aware to you guys later.
Mhm.
Don't worry, everything's fine. The world isn't ending, but
Mhm.
had to make some adjustments. But you will be seeing that light of day on the countdown soon.
Mhm.
I promise.
It's not dead. It's
It's
just
not dead.
it's being
It's
born.
not dead. It's just
Mhm.
me.
That's okay. Yeah, I think as far as me, as far as I go, yeah, changing teams at work, it's super crazy, super stressful, trying to wrap up old stuff and get ready for new stuff. So haven't done a ton lately, but that's okay. So I think next Billy and I in a few weeks are going to get together and talk about something that we'll talk about in a little bit. We're very excited to go see.
Yes.
And then in addition, we'll finish up with Osaka. And then we're going to be talking about the new upcoming HHN. I think
Yeah.
talk about what we want to see, talk about plenty of other topics along the way. Yeah, I think it's pretty exciting.
I
Um,
say, yeah, this after we get these few reviews done and kind of have established everything, the sky's the limit.
right,
What do you want to hear us talk about?
right.
Obviously we've got speculation for the upcoming season. We've got tons of stuff that we want to talk about, but
Mhm.
between us, between the international parks and years of coming to Orlando and Hollywood, is there anything specific that you guys want to hear us talk about that we haven't already?
Right.
We've got
A
what,
breadth of knowledge.
5 months to fill, give or take,
Oh,
before we
well,
get to our
plenty to
next
talk about.
reviews.
We're gonna run out of time so quick.
Yep.
hmm
We
right.
always do.
We always do. Cool. Okay, let's wrap it up talking about just briefly. Please go subscribe to Billy's channel at SixBillium if you're not already. I know he has an Instagram that he doesn't use too. Um,
That's correct. I'm trying to get one of my New Year's resolutions was to get better at social media.
okay.
We're
Yeah.
a month in and we haven't been doing so hot, but
Right.
it's on the list for this year.
Right. Good. I love to hear that. Yep. Subscribe to this channel, obviously. Subscribe to or follow my Instagram, Twitter, Blue Sky, all of them, all HHN Graveyard. I post a lot of pictures on Instagram and Twitter. And then as soon as Blue Sky ties into some of the posting software that I use, I'll post there as well. But lots of cool stuff around. And with that being said, we will talk to you next for our little secret exciting topic that I'm hoping is going to be good. And then towards the end of February, we'll finish it off with Osaka. So
Yeah. Let's
thanks
do it.
y'all for watching, and we will see you next time.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. We'll
All
see you
right.
around.
All right. Bye.